Hi, welcome to the Sterling Heights Public Library. My name is Brent, and today we're doing a little twist on classic green bean casserole. Come on down. So we're going to start out with some fresh green beans. To that we're going to add some mushrooms. Now I've got two kinds of mushrooms here. I've got some creminis and I've got some shiitakes. These are dried shiitakes. We'll touch on those in a minute. I've got some shallots, a little bit of the classic French fried onions, a little soy sauce, a little olive oil, a little cream, black pepper, and a little thyme. So in addition to the fresh creminis here, I mentioned we've got some dried shiitakes. Now you can get fresh shiitakes and those are great, but the dried ones have got a really intense flavor, which I really kind of like. So I'm going to just set these aside for a second. We're going to talk about rehydrating these. So basically you want to take dried shiitakes and put them in some nice hot tap water and let them sit for a good half hour to an hour or so until they rehydrate. Once they do, just squeeze a little bit of the water out of them. The stems are essentially inedible. So what you want to do is use your knife to just slice that right out of there. Take the caps and just give them a nice julienne, cut them onto some nice little strips here. And we'll do that. We're going to use about half a dozen of these things today. And just go ahead and buzz up the rest of these creminis here real quick too. I got about half a pound of creminis. So the first thing we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and toast these French fried onions just lightly. They're okay right out of the container, but they're better if you get a little bit of color and warmth on them. They crisp up nice. So I've got a pan over medium heat here, preheating. I'm just going to toss these in here. Just kind of keep them moving. This is only going to take maybe a minute or two. Not long at all. Just to give them a little bit of If you're not comfortable putting them around like that, you can use a spoon or a spatula to keep them moving. You just don't want to leave them sit in one spot. You don't want them to burn. You can already see how they're starting to color a little bit. So there's our fried onions. We're going to go ahead and just reserve those. We're going to use those as a topping at the end. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to take a little bit of olive oil here. Same pan. We're going to go ahead and throw in our shallots. And we're going to saute these until they start to get a little color on them and soften up a little bit. It's going to take probably 3-4 minutes. So our shallots are starting to get soft. They've got a little bit of color on them. We're not looking for a deep browning here, but once they do this, we're going to go ahead and add our fresh mushrooms and the rehydrated dried ones. And continue cooking these for a few more minutes until they start to collapse and release their moisture a little bit. The flavor of the shallots and the mushrooms is going to come together nicely when that happens. And then we will proceed from there. For those of you who aren't familiar with shallots, they are very much like a small onion. They've got a little bit deeper flavor, a little bit of a garlic thing going on there too. If you don't have shallots, you can use, an onion and a clove of garlic. That'll work out nicely. So our mushrooms are coming along here. They're starting to soften a little bit. I went ahead and stripped the thyme off of the stems. You can use dried if you want, but I'm using fresh. Probably about a teaspoon worth. A little bit of black pepper, not a ton. And we're going to go ahead and add that soy sauce now. There's about a tablespoon of soy sauce here. Reduced sodium, standard, up to you. And then we're going to kind of stir all that together and let it continue cooking. The mushrooms are going to start releasing some liquid here in a moment. We want to reduce that almost completely out of there once it happens. So you can see the mushrooms are starting to release some liquid here, and that's good, but we want to keep this going until it's released pretty much all of its liquid, and then we want to reduce most of that away. We want to have nice intense flavor here. We don't want a lot of extra juice floating around in the bottom. So you can see that there is still a little bit of liquid in here, but it's largely going away. So now is a good time for us to go ahead and add our beans. I got about a pound of green beans here. They've been topped, tailed, and cut in about half. You can cut them smaller if you want, but I like to leave them a little on the big side. And you do want to watch a little bit, because you can get a really full skillet here. I'm not going to be able to toss these around much, but go ahead and just kind of turn things over with my spatula a little bit, so that I've got some nice flavor going on here. I'm going to go ahead and pop a lid on these and let them go for about 3 minutes. Give them nice steam, and then we're going to work them all together again. Then about 4 minutes. I know I said 3, but it took 4. I'm going to go ahead and pop that lid off of there. We're looking for these things to have this nice bright green color. They're still crisp, tender. They're not cooked to death, but they're tenderized a little bit. And you can see there's a little bit of moisture in the bottom there, but not a lot. I'm going to go ahead and crank the heat up a little bit more on these. We're going to add a little bit of cream, maybe 1/4 cup, not a lot, and just let that kind of work through. And I want to reduce that liquid just a little bit more, but not very much. This is a great time to check your seasoning. Make sure that you're happy with your salt level. If you need to add a little bit more pepper. Soy sauce, you probably won't need to add much salt, but it's possible you might need to add a little bit. This does need just a pinch and a little bit more pepper. And you can see that liquid is bubbling nicely on there. We're going to reduce that just a little bit, and then we're going to be good. So my beans are tender, but they're nice and bright green and still got a little crunch to them. Sauce is reduced a little bit, thickened up a little. Checked our flavor. Everything tastes pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put these in a bowl. Be a little careful doing this so you don't lose stuff all over your countertop. Are we heavy on the mushrooms? Sure. You know what? I like mushrooms. If you want to go a little lighter on the mushrooms, that is certainly an option for you. And then go ahead and hear the way these things are a little crunchy there. Pour those nice right on top there, and we've got a new take on green bean casserole. Give it a try.